Can you hear me at the back? Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank you very much for making time to attend this presentation. I'm sure when you came in, you hear the music playing by Pharrell. Happy. It was for a reason. The reason being that I am happy, and you also should be happy, because our profession is coming out of age. For the last 7 years, I have been looking at what has been happening to procurement professionals, obviously in Africa and around the world. And it's been interesting in terms of the patterns. You know, gone are the days when procurement supply chain professionals were just paper pushers. It is changing, colleagues. But we need to do more. There is a skills gap. Hence, SBL is trying and bridge that gap with some of its initiatives. You know, I chose the title From the Backroom to the Boardroom for a reason, because this is a second calling for the profession. And I hope that this time we don't miss the boat. Unfortunately, technology is Is there any?
Seems like procurement is still at the backroom.
It's not moving. Yeah. What is this moving? Escape. My apologies. Sometimes technology tends to play tricks. Okay. Right. I will start off by, giving some insights in terms of what the presentation objectives is all about. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, for the last 7 years or so, I've been looking at developments within the procurement, logistics, and supply chain fraternity, and where, as a profession, we are going. Obviously, it's been a very challenging and sometimes very frustrating period for the profession, as most of you in here are aware. It started off in 2008, and I've been funding this for myself from my own budget, no company until this year when Sasol came to the party to help to sponsor the books. Why am I doing this? Because I believe that unless Africa embraces supply chain management, we're not going to go anywhere. It can't be just South Africa. It has to be the continent, because we are inextricably linked. And I've been, through various public forums, be talking about the need for us to, as a collective, obviously look at ways of working together and having a supply chain thinking. Some of my publications you've been aware of. In 2009, I spoke about the issue of the image problem for procurement professionals. Those days you hear about the corruption, and every time they see a procurement professional, they think the person is corrupt. Which resulted in quite a few of colleagues ended up reporting to various structures. I've seen procurement professionals reporting into security, into catering services. And for me, that was rather unfortunate. And most procurement professionals still report into the chief financial officer, which is creating a lot of challenges and is also hampering Africa's development, because my good old friends from finance, they look at things from a different perspective. They manage the purse. They are not focusing on development. Hence, a lot of the challenges we face. In South Africa, you've got the Procurement Finance Act, which obviously is sitting in Treasury. Now, Treasury has to manage the money. They don't have the time to also go and look at developmental issues. But we are not there to provide the reasons why. We've been very, very quiet. And you see things coming through in terms of what has been happening and the changing dynamics of the CEO. In 2011 and 2012, I made a publication about who was to blame for this. At that time, I blamed all of us, because out of desperation, a lot of us started to have titles. chief procurement officers. Where is the chief? Because they were still paper pushing. And they were happy to settle for chief procurement officer titles. Now, in terms of chief financial officer, they've got clout. But when you look at the profiles and the job responsibilities of the CPO, they were just paper pushing. But they were happy with the titles. So I wrote an article that we have made a mistake by taking on that title. 2 years later, I decided to look. And the changes that has been happening within the profession is because of the changing dynamics of society. The CEOs are now calling us back. And I presented this in Zambia. I presented it at a seminar at KPMG. And it's interesting the tweets that are on the internet right now in terms of our profession and where it is going. Now, what was the objective of doing this? Obviously, it was to do with industrial research and also academic perspective. Now, for me, I wanted to find out, my apologies, there's a mistake in the industrial research. I wanted to find out what's going to happen in 2020. And I now have the answer to share with you, colleagues, and I'm very happy on that. Now, I've been doing this research since 2009, as I mentioned earlier. Now, I've been looking at companies selected around the globe. Some of these companies' revenue is bigger than a lot of these African countries put together. People that took part controlled billions of dollars worth of procurement spend, some as high as 60 billion. So when they say something, you've got to take note. There were CEOs involved from various verticals. There were also CPOs. There were also chief supply chain officers. There were CFOs also involved. And it was interesting, the changing dynamics in terms of their thinking over the last 7 years. What were the sectors that were involved? Obviously, manufacturing was a major one. Services